sorry about a million times, but I'd rather you do what's right.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another Bubble Talk. It is already Thursday evening. It's 8 p.m. and let's begin it today. First, what is my bubble tea drink of the day? This one looks really fruity and punchy, doesn't it? Because it is watermelon fruit tea, least sweet. Not sure what that means. And at the bottom of it, it has some type of those, it's not pearls. I don't know, what are these? They're called pinballs. Pinballs? Okay. Pinballs. Okay, either way. Everyone, I'm not sure what you're drinking. Put it in the room. What are you drinking right now? Some of you probably having water. Some of you might be having milk or something, but delicious. Wow. Watermelon fruit tea. The pinballs are pretty good. All right. So a couple of shout outs I want to give to you guys right now. People came early. Diane, Ichigo, Hannah. Shout outs to all of you who came early. Also, you guys, I already have questions coming in right now. So if you have any questions, you can write them even right now. Because, you know, we know it's all about anger management today. So write all your questions down right now. You can write it during the talk. You can write it after the talk. I won't answer it, but it's after, right? But you can still write anytime. Put in the comments, whatever you like. Also, let's take a look at the winner from last week's bubble tea. It is all the way in the Philippines. Look at that. She looks very happy. She looks half happy. But I think she's really happy. Or either that or the picture was taken a little bit early. She looks half happy. So, thank you, Philippines. Well, there's someone else who won last week, but it's all the way in the UK. And that's why I'm not sure if they're sending the picture by mail and instead of email. I'm not sure. It's probably taking a long time, so we might get there a couple weeks later. All right, so this week is something that everyone is been texting me and saying, oh, this is great. They've been commenting in the chat like, oh, I can't wait for this one, anger management. And my first thought was, we have a lot of angry people watching this show. I'm not sure if everyone's angry or not, or there's probably someone that that gets angry all the time that you have to deal with, right? And that's why today we're going to talk about anger management, right? We have a lot of people that turn into Hulk, right? We have a lot of people that turn into these superheroes when they're in bad moods. So let's get into today's talk on anger management. So in life, there are these different cycles that we go through, right? There's high times and low times. You hit the peak of the mountain, sometimes you hit the valley, and then sometimes you have fiery, burning anger times, right? So here, let me give you some examples. What happens when you're driving, someone cuts you off, something might come out of your mouth, I won't repeat it, but something might come out, right? You have road rage, people get out of their cars, crazy stuff happens. What about if, someone says something that's not too pleasant to you, and then, of course, you turn into the Incredible Hulk, right? And they're like, ah, and everyone starts freaking out. Sometimes, you can see it at stores or restaurants, people complaining, getting angry, yelling at each other, standing up, and it's like everyone is watching them, and they don't even notice that everyone is watching them either, right? Sometimes people get angry because, haven't you ever had it when you say something and the first thing someone does is they trash the idea? It's like, hey, what do you think about this? No, man, that sucks. That's a stupid idea, right? And then you're like, what? Oh, and then first you're hurt, and then all of a sudden the anger starts to come out, right? So there's tons of things that happen. Things don't go your way, things that go your way, but not quite the way you wanted it to go. Or sometimes you just sit there in your thoughts and you get angry. Yeah, have you ever had that? You just sit there like this, and then all of a sudden it's like, and all this anger starts coming out of your ears. And people are going, dude, you okay? And you might not be. So I'm going to start with something very easy about anger. Let's start something make sure the timer's on, right? So let's take a look at something about anger, okay? So anger is something, I want to tell you what does anger do to us? Okay? So I'm not going to just talk about the stuff like, hey, anger can ruin your reputation. Anger can ruin your relationships with your friends and family. Anger can ruin your mental state. I'm going to talk about something that is real, even more real than this. It is, what does anger do to your body? Okay? So scientific studies have proven several things about people who get angry often. Okay? So if you get angry often, number one, it is proven to weaken your immune system, which means you will get sick often. This is true. Number two, you have almost a 10% chance of getting a heart attack more than other people. You're more likely to get a heart attack by 10%, which is crazy. Next one is high blood pressure. People get high blood pressure when they get angry often. And this is the one that was mind-blowing to me, and it really it disturbed me. Because people who get angry often will die earlier because of heart disease. Okay? Now, think about this carefully. You're going to die earlier because of heart disease. But was like, well, how bad is it? It's worse than smoking, having a bad diet, and a lack of exercise combined. Getting angry often is worse than those three things combined. Think about how crazy that is. Getting angry often is very, very unhealthy for even your physical body. Right? Can you think about that? Smoking, bad diet, and lack of exercise, those three combined is not as big as someone getting angry often. So, one of the things we want to talk about today is this anger management or the controlling of your anger, right? This is something that's really, really important that all of us want to learn how to deal with or be able to help others to deal with these too, right? It even ruins your body. That's how bad it is, okay? So let's work on this together as today we'll talk about anger management. Now, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to understand that there has to be a change in your perception. Now, what does that mean? So the first question I'm going to give to you, I know a lot of you out there are spiritual and have faith also, and some of you don't. So I'm going to ask you the question in two different ways. Number one is anger wrong, or is it sinful? Like a sin, people who go to church is like, oh no, is it a sin to be angry? So first I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at a Bible verse, and it's Psalm chapter 86, verse 15, and it says, but you, Lord, are a compassionate, gracious God. Now here's where it gets interesting. It says, slow to anger. Now you don't understand what that means. God is slow to anger doesn't mean he doesn't get angry. It means that it takes a little bit longer for God to get angry, which actually means he does get angry. Like honestly, how many times have you read the Bible? How many times have you heard stories where it's like, and God was angry, and then people died. God was angry, and there was an earthquake. And you see all these things happen when God eventually gets angry. It doesn't say that God never gets angry. Even God gets angry. And if God is perfect, he's supposed to be this perfect almighty God, then we have to understand that the anger part is not the issue, right? Anger itself is not wrong. That's the first thing you have to get into your heads. The issue we're after dealing with right now is not the anger part, you can never get angry. No, that's not it. The issue we have to deal with right now is about control. It's not the anger part, it's the control part that matters. So let me give you an example. Some things in life require anger, and it's justified. Don't you think it'd be justified to be angry? For instance, let's say someone is punching your mom in the face. Would you be like this? Excuse me, sir. Hi. Yeah, could you not punch my mother in the face, please? And would that be something you wouldn't be angry about? You'd be like going, oh, excuse me. Hi. Could you stop punching my... Wouldn't you be angry? You'd be justified. You'd be justifiably angry. Imagine someone throwing their son off a bridge. Would you be angry, or would you be like, oh, wow, they threw their son off the bridge, and just drive by? Like, no one's going to do that. Sometimes anger is necessary. When you see something so the unjust, the injustice is, oh, it's terrible. The problem we're dealing with is losing control, right? Losing control means, for instance, you get angry at someone and then you end up hurting them. You get angry at someone, you say the most terrible thing that you regret. You get angry at someone and you do something and you just basically embarrass yourself in front of your friends, family, or even your coworkers. It destroys our relationships, which we didn't want. It destroys our reputation. It destroys our self-confidence. These are the things that when we go out of control, it causes things to happen that shouldn't have happened in the first place. And that's why you say I lost it. I lost control. Oh, my anger got the best of me. The thing if they're changing your perception is not the anger part that's the issue. Because people can be angry and still have control of themselves, right? The issue we are dealing with right now is it's about the control that matters more than anything else. Okay? So let's move on to the next part. So I'm going to teach you 3 things that are going to help us when it comes to dealing with this anger or controlling this anger. So the first thing, we're going to go into this Bible verse, is in Psalms chapter 4, verse 4. Really deep verse. If you think this is really, really deep. It says, be angry and do not sin. So you can be angry, but just don't sin. Which means that the anger part's not the it's not the issue, is the angry part. Just don't sin in your anger, right? Meditate within your heart on your bed and be still. Okay? What does that mean? Right? It means to meditate on this anger overnight. Or it doesn't even have to be overnight. At least sit there and meditate over why you're angry. Right? The moment is difficult when you get angry. Of course, it's like, and then for you to just like, get on your bed. Like, this is a hard thing, right? It's hard for you to, in your anger, all of a sudden just stop everything. You can't. Sometimes you can't. But we have to learn to do this, and one of the big things that we have to understand is you need to meditate. This is not about doing it all night. It's not that's not the key point. The key point is you need to calm yourself down. You have to get over this emotional feeling part and go into reasoning, right? You need to let the anger pass through. How? Meditation and thoughts. And I'm going to give you guys an exercise to think about right now, okay? The exercise I'm going to give you right now is called the Is It Possible exercise, right? And this is something you need to reason, you have to seriously reason with yourself. What do you mean, like reason with myself? Yeah, you got to reason with yourself. So when I say the Is It Possible exercise means you have to ask yourself those questions. Is it possible? Is it possible I misunderstood the person? Is it possible? And it probably is. It is more than likely possible. Is it possible I didn't hear what they said properly? Why? Because I was triggered by a certain word and I didn't hear the rest of the sentence. Is it possible that the person didn't intend to hurt you? And yeah, it is possible. Is it possible for you to be angry even though they didn't intend to? And yes, it's very possible. Is it possible, this is something that you're extra sensitive to, but not them? Is it possible that I'm assuming what they're really thinking? And what happens is, in your meditation, you're really able to reason with yourself and say, okay, oh, that's true. It is true. What if I misunderstood what they said? What if I'm assuming their intent? Oh, that's true. What if I didn't hear them properly? Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't know. And that's what has to happen. But when you're in full rage or anger mode, you're not going to think about those things. If you talk to a lot of experts when it comes to anger management, the one thing they say is anger makes you stupid. It does. You don't think about anything else. One thing about anger, it makes you focus on a single thing and you see nothing else, right? And that's why you need to calm yourself down. When you get angry, what do? Lie down, meditate on your bed, unclench those fists, right? Don't clench your teeth. Relax yourself and think to yourself, okay, what's going on? Why am I angry? Why did this happen? And you do the Is It Possible exercise, okay? So that's the first thing I recommend for everyone. The second thing is also in James chapter 1, verse 19. And in this verse, very interesting, it says, my dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry, right? Kind of like God. But the first part's interesting. It says, quick to listen, slow to speak, right? And this is for us not to make any mistakes, right? We have to listen first, speak last. Why? I have a question for you. Question is your goal to lose control? Is your goal to do something stupid? Obviously it isn't. Is your goal to get heart disease? No. Is it your goal to die early? No. Is it your goal to weaken your immune system? And the answer is no, right? So the answer is, do you really want to be angry? If you think about yourself, do you really want to misunderstand? Do you really want to break relationships? Do you really want to say things you regret? And the answer is, you don't. So what is the thing I'm trying to tell you? What does it mean to listen first and speak and be slow to speak? It means you need to be someone who is always seeking truth. Seeking truth, right? Very, very famous verse in John chapter 8, verse 32 says, then you will know the truth, and then the truth will set you free, right? John chapter 8, verse 32. Then you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Now, this is one of the qualities of truth. One of the qualities of truth it says here is, when you know truth, truth sets you free. What's one of the reasons why you're angry? One of the reasons why you're angry is you're basing it on things you don't have full information. The goal you have is not to just get angry at someone and to hit someone or to say something bad at people. That's not your goal. The goal is to find out what just happened. What just happened right now? Because what if you get mad over something that's not even true? Like, how would you feel at the end of that? Right? What should you be doing more than anything else? It's seeking truth. Seeking what is really happening right now, more than going out and getting angry and doing things that you regret. The second thing is what? Listen first, speak last. I would even go to that point, just to listen and listen. Find out more information. What's going on? Did I really hear? Did I really hear that? Right? You need to get yourself in a position where you're used to always, wait, did they really say that? Not like, they said that. No, you have to get into the mode in your mind is, wait, did they say that? Did they really say that? Well, what did they mean? Right? You're always investigating because you don't want to hurt people. You don't want to misunderstand people. You don't want to get angry for no reason. And there's one thing that I do believe is something that you think about to yourselves is the issue is not the anger, it's the issue of how you handle the anger. Right? That's the biggest thing. I have anger because I think they said this. So let me ask you, excuse me, did they really say that? Or what were they really trying to say? And someone might say, I did say that, but I'm very sorry because I was so angry. It's like, okay. Then you've saved yourself so much more heartache and you saved yourself so much more pain. Okay? So what's the first one? First one is, I'm not going to say sleep on it, because sleeping on it means you're not meditating or thinking about it. You need to meditate on it. You have to think about it. Reason with yourself. Is it possible? And the second one is what? You want to listen first, speak last. Right? Don't lose control. Don't be stupid, but you have to seek truth. Is that what really happened? Because I know that a lot of us too, sometimes we're just not in a good mood, right? We're not in a good mood. Sometimes we see things the way that we want, or we hear things the way that we want to hear it, right? And it's very difficult for us, like, what? Seek truth. Now, this last thing I want to talk about is something that's a little bit more proactive and indirect. And I think this is something that's very, very important. This third and last one is probably the most important one. This is something you can actively do, and it's something that will indirectly prevent you from losing control. Indirectly. But it's something very, very important. And I'm going to put this up. It's in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8. Very, very powerful verse. And it says that, above all, love each other deeply because love covers over a multitude of sins. Right? And my answer is learning how to love people more deeply. Loving deeply. To love deeply. Now, what do you mean? It indirectly is going to help you to control your anger. Let me give you an example. If you really love someone deeply, like you really care for them and you really love them, do you want to misunderstand them? No. Do you want to hurt them? No. Even if there is something wrong, do you want to fight them? Do you want to break the relationship? Do you want to have peace? Or do you want to have war? In the end, when you really love someone, you are avoiding war at all costs. You're avoiding pain at all costs. But because you love them so much, you want to always be at peace. You want to forgive them. You want to say it's okay. Like, you got to think about those times. Some of you might be in high school, but even myself, when I was in high school, when I had a crush on a girl, oh my goodness, she could basically cut my arm off and I'd forgive her. It's like, oh, and blood's like, I'm like, ah. She's like, I'm sorry. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's not that bad. It's just a lot of blood, but it's okay. And I would forgive everything. Why? Because you just really like the person, right? They could poke my eye out. Oh, my eye's gone. Oh, I'm sorry. And I look like, oh, it's her. Oh, it's okay. And my eye's like dangling like this and hanging like this, right? They're crazy. When you really love someone, you can forgive. And that's one thing we really need to practice and learn each and every day. Yes, the other two is about holding yourself back, learning how to, withstand and not let the anger out. But this third one, I believe, is the most important one. It is to actively begin to start loving people more deeply. Because the more you love them, the more you're able to forgive them, the more that you're able to overlook their wrongdoings. Because honestly, how many people don't do wrong things? We all do wrong things all the time, but wouldn't it be terrible if every wrong thing we did, people got angry at us? Or people, that people are getting angry over every wrong thing? No. We have to understand is, we are going to make mistakes, and we need to control ourselves and work with it together so we can move forward. How? We have to learn to love more deeply. Right? And I'm going to tell you something what I really believe. This is what I believe. I really believe that anger comes quick when you don't get love in life. Or if I were to, if you don't get a lot of love, you're always fighting to get love, whether it's from your work, from your parents, from your friends, from your family. And I really believe that if people don't get enough love, like receive enough love, they'll get angry much more quickly. And if I were to put it another way, it's like, there's something, what I would say, this unhealthy, an unhealthy relationship is when there is what you call love debt. And I call love debt is someone is putting in more than they get back, right? When love is supposed to be something where two people love each other so much that even though I pour out so much, I'm getting so much in, right? And it's balanced. And I see a lot of times there are a lot of people that have a lot of love debt, where they're not getting in as much as they give. And I know that a lot of you, because we're, some people who have faith, people who are more spiritual, they do get that love from God. They do get that love from their faith, right? And that's why a lot of people, we see a lot of people of faith they do really well when it comes to controlling their anger when their faith is doing well. When the faith's not doing well, it doesn't control very hard. It's not very easy to control it, right? But I really do think that it's something that we have to understand, that we need love at all levels, not just at the people level. We need love at the spiritual level, at the mental level also. And that's why the number 3 was the most important one for me is, even if you try to hold yourself off, your willpower is not that strong, that you could do it all the time. But you need to build and do something more actively, which is this loving part, learning to love people more, understanding them better, having empathy, right? Treating them better, and receiving and gaining love even more. And these are what you call healthy relationships. And I hope that you guys too will be able to understand these 3 things I talked about today. Well, I hope that kind of answered some questions when it comes to anger management. That was 20 minutes of anger management. I just wanted to do these 3 things to talk to you about today. I hope that it really changes your perception more than anything else, and that us too, not just when it comes to us, dealing with our own anger, but we can help other people, help people with their anger. And one of the ways we can do it is sometimes people just need love, and you just pour out your love to them because they don't get enough, right? So I hope that all of you will really be able to take a lot from today's talk. And those of you who are here for the first time, we're here on YouTube. This is the 25th. Today's the 25th Bubble Talk, which means we have 24 other talks we've had in the past. If you want to go see them, it's going to be on the YouTube channel, Espresso with Sky. We're going to put those into the room so that you guys can just click, subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll know every time we upload a video and every time we go live. For those of you who would like to support us in this ministry, you can support us on Patreon. And this Saturday, as in every Saturday, we have like much deeper Bible studies at 1 p.m. on Saturdays in Malaysia time. And that's going to be on Zoom, much more intimate, much more we can talk with each other, smaller groups, so we can get to know each other a lot more better too. So if you'd like to do that, go ahead and sign up in your rooms too. Fill in the sign up form, and we'll email you the Zoom link for Saturday, and we'll give you all the announcements too. And remember everyone, today is Bubble Talk, which means that by the end of today, we're going to be giving away some more free bubble tea, so everyone be ready. Today's question is really easy. I think. Yeah, I think it's easy. And I'm old, and this is like a young person's song. Whoops. I mean, yeah, it's for young people. Maybe. But I'm sure everyone's going to get it, because even I knew it, right? Well, actually, no. I didn't know it, actually. All right, so I'm going to give you a few moments. We're going to begin our question and answer time. All right. All right, let's go to the first question for today. First question is coming all the way from Jonathan in KL. Jonathan says, I'm not sure what it means to love more deeply. How can I love people more deeply? Very, very good question. So how can I love people more deeply? And I would say the number one way to love people more is not by just doing things for them, right? Because you can have a boss and you can just keep doing things for them, but it doesn't mean you're gonna love them more deeply, right? And I'm gonna tell you this, one of the best and simplest and easiest ways to love people is to communicate and talk to them a lot. The more you talk, the closer you get. It doesn't mean you have to talk to them for hours every day, like, hello, how's it going? Like, it's not like every day, like 2 hours on the phone. But the more you communicate, the more you talk with each other, not like just work stuff. But the more you talk, like, personally with each other, the closer you guys are gonna get, right? And so that's why to practice it means in many different levels. To practice or to work on loving people more deeply is to talk to them more, is to if I was going to go by biblical terms, like there's a verse in 1 Corinthians 13 that talks about love is patient, love is kind, love does not boast, love does not envy, all these other different things, right? Like these are different characteristics of love. And I would take those things one by one and I would work on them, like being more patient with this person. Love is patient, right? So I'm going to work on being more patient with them. And I'll focus on being patient. I'll focus on not envying, right? I'll focus on talking to them more, figuring out what their life is like. What did their parents do, right? So there's a lot of different things that we can do to love people more. And we just need to find things that are more actionable. And like that's why I say the biggest and easiest way is talk to each other more. There's no other way to love people more deeply. It's not saying you're going to fall in love. What I'm saying is just that relationships are grown. Even friends, you talk with each other. That's why you grow closer with each other. Okay? Thank you, Jonathan and KL. Let's look at the next question all the way from Singapore. It's Melanie in Singapore says, I have a friend that makes me so angry because they always think about themselves. It feels like they only want love and never want to give it. How do I deal with this? Okay, so what we know is when it comes to people who are very needy, like say, listen, I'm just talking generally right now. Melanie, one thing that I would want to do is I would want to talk to them more deeply. Because there's a reason why people are wanting or needing love so desperately, right? It's kind of like what we talked about today is, when that third point about loving more deeply, a lot of times people have love debt. Like in their life, whether it's their parents, whether it's their family, whether it's just people around them, the way they get treated, or the way that they act, or whatever it is, some people are in a lot of love debt, and they're just needy and wanting it. And if we don't understand who they are, and understand like what type of life they went through, or understanding them, it's very hard to have empathy towards these people until we know what they've been through. And once you know what they've been through, this is when you're like, oh, no wonder, right? Go to their house, see what their, you can see what their family's like. You can see how their life is, right? Yes, there are some people who are just completely selfish. I understand, there are, right? But not everyone's like that. And it's good that we get to communicate, talk to them, see what type of life they lived, and find out why people have this love debt, right? And that's something I think that's one of the things we can, because we love these people, and that's why we're friends with them, we can be more proactive in getting to know them. Cool. Thank you so much, Melanie in Singapore. Let's go all the way to Japan. Hannah in Japan says, when I get angry, I tend to stay quiet and keep it all in because I know I have the tendency to say, okay, that's very good then that you hold it in. But keeping it all in hurts me instead. How to deal with this? Okay, I'm going to give you one exercise for you, Hannah, that's going to really help you a lot. I'm going to tell you one thing though. Remember I told you that intense anger often causes a lot of like body stress and like, you get heart disease, it weakens your immune system, blood pressure, and all those other different things. It's exactly the same with holding it in. Holding it in and letting too much out, they're both on the extremes, and both of them cause harm to your body, right? So how would you deal with it? Well, the first thing I would do is what you did is fine, because you don't want to say hurtful things to people, so you hold it in. But the second thing I would do is first advice today is meditate over. Sit down, what am I reasoning with? Calm yourself down. And of course, you could do breathing exercises. And I'm going to tell you the reason why taking deep breaths is really, really good for you, because scientifically, you breathe in for 7 seconds, breathe out for 11. And the reason why you breathe out longer is because when you breathe out, scientifically, your body actually calms yourself down. And you could feel it sometimes, like, and breathing is a very important part. Think about it. When people are fighting, people don't breathe like really deeply. They're like, hey, you, I'm going to kill you right now. And you're like, ha, 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 right? But, how many people are like this? Like, no one does that. Breathing in deeply and letting out long, deep breaths and letting out the air This actually helps your body to relax and calm down. But the last thing I do recommend from you, Hannah, if you hold it in too long, it's not good if you don't deal with it. Dealing with it means what? You need to start a journal. It's good to write it down. Write down why you're angry. Write down the is it possible that? Write down maybe what's the actual situation? What are you feeling? What are you going through? And that's supposed to be very, very therapeutic for people. So, even for yourself, you don't have to keep them. You don't have to keep it, right? But at least write it down and you're dealing with it because you're letting it all out. Oh, I'm angry because of this. Now, why am I angry? Well, I'm angry because they said this. And then you start to think, you're able to start dealing with it when you write it down. So for you, Hannah, if you're holding it in, it's good for you to calm yourself down and then start writing. Even writing in the third person, right? Like looking at it as a spectator. That's supposed to be even very, very helpful also. Okay, so I hope that helps you out, Hannah. Let's move over to the next question, all the way over in the Philippines from Mary Grace Arbasto. And she says, how to deal with someone, especially a member of your family, who gets angry even on trivial things, right? So when they're in their anger, of course, if we get angry or frustrated, it just makes it worse, right? And of course, I know that's not easy if they're getting angry over just the smallest things. Like a couple things that we might want to figure out is when they calm down, talking to them and figuring out what their life is like. Now, it's not like right after they calm down, like, hey man, why were you so angry? It's more of like taking them out to eat, like a good family member, just finding out what life is like for them. Because a lot of times when these people are very, very angry quickly, sometimes they're in love debt, sometimes they're going through a lot of different things in life. Sometimes, there's just a lot of different things that could possibly make them like that. They could be overly stressed at work. Their boss could totally be a jerk. There's just so many things when you think about it that could cause someone to always be on edge, right? So the more we know, the more we communicate, the better it is that we can deal with it, the more empathetic we can be, and the more we can deal with these people and also befriend them, get close to them, and understand them better, and they'll confide in you too. So yeah, during that situation, I know it's hard, but it's better to just let it go during that time. But when they calm down, or at completely another day, it's better to just let it go. Let it go and let them let it out. And then later tell them, you're going to die early. No, I'm just kidding. Don't say I'm just kidding. Sorry. Bad joke. All right. Thank you, Mary Grace Arbasto from the Philippines. Let's move on to the next one. We're going back to the Philippines. Diane, how do you love someone more deeply when they didn't want your love in the first place? Okay. So I guess it really depends on who the person is and how close the relationship is, because there are some people that we're going to have to carry the cross or carry the burden if it's like our parents or brothers and sisters, because you're going to see them all the time anyways. Sometimes it's people at church, sometimes it's people at school, sometimes it's people at work. And when it says to love someone deeply, it doesn't mean to love them deeply like they're your best friend. Loving someone deeply is loving them at the level of your relationship, right? So if someone doesn't what if someone doesn't want that level of I don't want to be your best friend, right? But you're trying to give them best friend level of deep love. Then I'd be like, whoa, let's hold it down. Why all of a sudden you're giving me love like this? You need to love people deeply at the level of the relationship itself. So if I'm loving strangers at the level of a stranger, to love them deeply doesn't mean to invite them over to my house for dinner, right? Because, I would do that only with some other person relationship. But for them at that level is, if we bump shoulders on the street, I'm not going to get so angry at them. Why? Because I don't know them. But as a stranger, we have a general level of etiquette and respect. And hey, maybe they're going through something. I don't know. Not a big deal. And I move forward, right? But then some people, if it's strangers, someone bumps by mistake, they're like, oh, they start fighting. It's like, what? Then that's not loving deeply at that level of the relationship. So you have to look at loving deeply at the level of that relationship and not putting in more than the relationship requires, because that's when it gets weird. That's almost like someone who's just a friend and then it's like you're treating them like your husband, which is really weird, right? And the person will be like, what the heck? Why are you holding my hand, right? It's like it makes no sense to them. So that's an extreme example, but what I'm saying is you want to keep it, the loving deeply at the level of the relationship, if that makes more sense, okay? Thank you, Diane, in the Philippines. We're going to move all the way to Korea. Oh, Ichigo in Korea. She's actually Mongolian, living in Korea, so that's even cooler. Ichigo in Korea. It's gone. Something, oh, okay. How should I love people not my way, but their way? Loving them their way. And that's the only way you're going to love them their way is if you know what their way is. And the only way you're going to know what their way is if you talk to them, right? And that's going to be, like I talked about this a few weeks ago for Bubble Talks. One of the biggest things that solves like 80 to 90% of all the issues is communication. And if you need to, how should I love people their way, not the way that I want to love them, right? And that's fair. Because if two people love each other, they should love each other what each person wants. That's kind of what love is, right? Love is doing for me what I want, and then I do for them what they want, and it's a reciprocal relationship. But it requires a lot of talking, okay? Communicate, talk to them. Say, hey, you know, I was wondering, you know, you might not be too happy with this or this, but what do you think? Right? Do you like it when I do this? Or like, not really. So, you know, when you're not doing well, what should I do? Because there are some people, if they're angry, they want to be left alone. That's their way, which means when they're angry, leave them alone. Some people want someone to hold them and talk to them, right? That's their way. So you need to kind of find out about what these people are like, hang out with them, talk with them, and you know, communication is probably the best way to do it. Hanging out with them, you get to get a better feel of what they're like also. Okay, so let's move on to, thank you, Ichigo from Korea. Let's move all the way back to Chichi. Chichi in KL. Chichi, it sounds like Kiki, but it's Chichi. Oh, because it's Chinese, right? Chichi, that's such a cool name. Chichi. Chichi is the name of a golfer about 30 years ago. His name is Chichi Rodriguez. Doesn't matter. Chichi in KL. Is this a girl or a guy? It's a girl. Okay. The golfer's a guy. Sorry. Don't get angry. Oh, okay, no, just kidding. All right, Chichi in KL. My father lied to me a lot. How do I love him deeply? Well, let me give you an example of how you can love people even though they don't treat you very well, okay? Or they do wrong things. So let me give you a very, very interesting and easy story, okay? So when, back in the days when I was in Africa, yes, I used to be in Africa. When I was in Africa, I used to do these at our church, we'd have these parties every Friday. And what happened once was someone brought one of their friends, a beautiful girl. And this beautiful girl came and she, you know, she was so beautiful that all the guys wanted to be her friend, right? And all the girls hated her. But the crazy part was she was so rude. She was so mean. She was cussing. She was like even like physically like pushing guys and stuff like that. So people are like going, whoa, what the heck is wrong with her? So she's doing something wrong. She is doing something wrong, right? You know it. So if she's cussing and spitting and smoking, doing all these bad habits, and in church, like even pushing people out of the way, then that's bad, right? So I'm watching this like, holy smokes, what's going on, right? And the friend came to me and said, hey, we should pray for her and take care of her well. And I was like, oh, really? And I was like, oh, why? And basically she told me the story of what this girl went through. And this girl was like abandoned as a child. And then she went to a foster home, and something like the first foster home or the first two foster homes like beat her. And then later she was moved again, and then because she's so pretty, then she was like sexually assaulted by her foster father, like multiple times, right? So think about this. Even though she did wrong things, do you understand? And the answer is yes, you do, right? And one of the things that we have to figure out is sometimes people do things wrong, but it's hard for us to love and to understand deeply if you don't understand what's happening behind the scenes, right? And that's why communication and talking and understanding them is a big thing. What their life was like. What did their father treat them like? What did their parents treat them like? What's their life like with their job? How do they feel about themselves? You know, there's multiple things that can happen. And even though I know it hurts a lot because it's your father, but one of the things we have to understand is in order for us to have empathy, in order for us to understand people really well, we need to understand what they go through, right? I know it's your father, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but ask your mom, why is your father like this? Ask your mom. Ask, other people, like, why does he keep lying, right? But sometimes you may stumble upon some things that are, right? Like with me and that girl in Africa, you'd be like, oh. And instead of being like, what's wrong with her? I'd be like, how can I help her? Right? So in the same way too, it does require us to communicate and to figure out what is happening in their life too. Because honestly, we don't really know what's going on with our fathers, right? Honestly, I don't know what's going on with my dad. I only know my dad when he's giving me food or money or when he's treating me. But a lot of times he's gone at work. A lot of times he's gone out with his friends or whatever it is. And I don't see his life, right? I only see what he does to me. Which, if you only look at that, then you'll be upset. But if you see the full range of what he went through, you might have more empathy towards him and like, oh, that's why. No wonder. And sometimes you'll let it go because you understand. Okay? So it is something that requires us to go out and, talk to them and trying to figure out what their life has been like. Okay? So thank you, Chi-Chi, for that. We're going to move into the question for the bubble tea question of the day. You guys are going to freak out with this one because it's going to be, here it is. Which group sang the song, How You Like That Law? How You Like That? Who sang the song? Write it down and we'll tell you which person is going to win the bubble tea. Just start writing everything down as fast as possible. I'm sure you're going to know who it is, right? Which group sang the song, How You Like That? It sounds so Manglish or Singlish. How you like that? Right? It's so broken, but I guess it's Konglish, right? Korean English, but it's How You Like That. Okay, so write it down. Tell me which one it is. I don't know. I knew. Actually, no. I'm sorry. I didn't know who it was. So I'm just lying. Okay. Let's go to the last question of the day. Because a question came out, we're going to go. This is right before the last question. Today's question comes from Kat in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas? It's like 8 a.m. over there. Dang. Okay. Cool. You must really love Bubble Talk. Okay. How do you manage your anger in relation to family resentment? Okay. So this is going to be another topic that we're going to have to deal with is when we have resentment. And resentment is resentment is something that we have to deal with the resentment first before the anger. Because if you just deal with the anger itself and you don't deal with the resentment, then all you're doing is just holding yourself the entire time, like why am I so and it's too hard. It's a battle you're going to lose. You're going to eventually lose, right? And that will be another bubble talk we're going to have to talk about is how to deal with resentment, right? And that is a big thing. But right now, you have a lot of different things that we can talk about for how to deal with the anger part, which you might not be able to do all the time if that resentment is sustained. But one thing I do hope that you can do is practice loving people deeply. It's very, very difficult. But I think we're going to have to do another topic on resentment. Because today, you can deal with the anger. Resentment is an entirely different issue. And I think we can do that at another bubble talk. But that's a great topic, resentment. Okay? So thank you so much, Kat in Houston, Texas. You called all the way from Houston, Texas. Amazing, right? So we'll talk about the resentment one another talk. Okay? Next week, you guys see what's our next week's topic again? Oh, next week's topic is social anxiety. Ugh, okay, social anxiety. Oh my gosh, okay. I'm already anxious. Okay, so I hope that you guys enjoyed today's Bubble Talk. Today we're gonna look at which number is gonna win. The number that's gonna win is number number 8. Whoever's number 8 is going to win today's Bubble Talk. And today's winners are Vera in Facebook and Mirasol on YouTube. I'm gonna have to figure out about this Facebook one, but all right, everyone, congratulations to Vera and Mirasol. Just make sure you make sure you email your information that you won the Bubble Talk, and we will send you the free bubble tea. All right, everyone, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful weekend. Those of you, make sure you sign up for the Saturday 1 p.m. Bible study. It's going to be awesome. We've been doing it for like the last 2 months. It's been awesome. So many people have been coming in, different countries, 5, 6 different countries. We're going to be like Hong Kong, Mongolia, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia. Yeah, a bunch of those countries, right? So usually people in this time zone. If you join us, if you're gonna join us in Houston, it'll be midnight. So I don't know if you can make it. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful bubble tea, and we'll see you guys again. Bye-bye.